Hey everybody, welcome to the Alliance Open. Today we've got a very fun day lined up for you. I'm here with Jay from Mohawk Miniatures. Hi
How's
Jay.
it going, dude?
It's going very well. And we've called in your painting expertise because it's that time for us again where our latest painting competition is closed. People have given us their entries. And we are here to judge them all on their painting prowess. So
I love that.
Yeah,
Judge, Judy, and executioner.
Exactly. You'll be able to execute people on the spot. You've got a big red button, right? We gave you a button.
Big button, yeah. Like push in case of emergency.
Exactly. It shoots a missile to the contestant's grandma if they fail, and
Grandma, that's a bit harsh.
yeah, so it's brutal. It's brutal, but that's the only way they'll learn.
I hope you can all paint.
That's all jokes aside, though.
Responsibility now.
Yeah. I know, and it's on you. We are relieved of all liability.
Brilliant. Where's that button?
Yeah, kablam. Okay, so this painting competition's topic, it's called "Drive Me Closer."
Yeah.
So everybody knows the cool, funny meme where the commissar with the sword sits on the tank and he yells, "Drive me closer! I want to hit them with my sword."
Love it.
So the
Classic.
Yep. So the idea is that people were able to submit a model that wants to get into close combat, even though it has big guns. So there's a bit of leeway with what people could get away with, as long as it's possibly in any shape or form able to get in close combat with a weapon. It was allowed. So
That's cool.
and we're pretty happy actually this time with the number of contestants. It's 17 people have entered. Which is quite a lot, actually, because last time it was around 10, I think. So
something like that, perhaps. Yeah.
It's definitely a step up. We've got more people getting excited for their painting, which is always a good thing. And before we jump in, I did want to really quickly ask you, how did the weekend go? Because you had a pretty big weekend. Was that this weekend or the weekend before?
Yeah, it was the one before.
Yeah,
it's the last weekend of April is the stream's birthday. It's actually the 25th, on the 25th, which was last Sunday. So sometimes it's going to fall on that, and sometimes it won't, obviously. But we had an absolute blast. We ended up giving away. So originally, it was going to be 2 armies that we gave away, and then it became 3, and then it became 4, and then it became more. So we gave away 4 armies.
Holy crap.
2 of which were fully painted. An entire airbrush setup, brush setup, like literally anything you could need. And at the end of it, we ended up raising so much money for refurbing the studio that the last prize was, we've given you armies, we've given you books so you know how to play, we've given you tools to paint with, we're just going to give you a table. And so the last prize was an entire setup of terrain, which is from your store as well, in fact, the Alliance Armory. And a game mat as well, so not bad.
Oh, that's amazing! I mean, I tuned in for like an hour or so.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
It's a lot of fun as always. You know, there's a lot of fun banter going on. It's just a really nice group of people. It got a little emotional even when I was there. It was like soft emotions. It's just a experience, man. Whenever you get there, so definitely for every one of you watching this at home, if you need like a great channel to just turn on to learn about painting, or listen to when you're doing your own painting and stay motivated, definitely check out Mohawk Miniatures. That's Jay's channel, because it's definitely worth a watch, for sure.
Just don't do it when the children in the background, because there's a reason I stream at night.
yeah, there is a bit of
you might need to bleep some stuff out.
A bit of a jokes that might not be for children, so it's a bit more for an adult-ish audience, and that's okay. But as long as you know that, right? No big deal.
There's a big warning at the front.
Yeah, you should do this disclaimer. Yeah. Don't let your children watch Jay.
Explicit content inside.
They will lose their innocence.
Yeah. And in fact, some grown adults still do, so it's fine. It's all good. But that's part of the fun.
Now, we have 17 people. We talked about it a little bit before. We are on a bit of a tight schedule. So let's just jump into the judging. Now, I've got a bit of a disclaimer on my own because we're checking this on Discord, and I've already noticed that the way I've set it up here, like the order of the pictures is a little different than in Discord, even though I post.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's going to be fun. I just noticed that. Of course, that's the case, right? So let me check real quick if the first one is correct, because it only switched like 2 pictures around.
All right, that's not so bad.
No, that's not so bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's waiting for the. So I'm looking at a Space Wolf, and it's grey.
Okay, so you know what? You call out what model you see, and I'll grab it in front of us on the screen as well. So we're going.
I'll go with the order that you've got in Discord. Then that'll keep it nice and straightforward.
So we've got the Space Wolf. So this one's made by Bart van Oosterbos, and it indeed seems to be a Space Wolf on a Thunderwolf Camper, on a Cyber Wolf.
Yeah.
So
wasn't this a special character one, or is this just a regular like Thunderwolf cavalry? Like I can't remember.
Seems to be just a regular Thunderwolf. I mean, there's nothing normal about a Space Marine on a wolf, but I mean,
not really.
but I don't think this is a special character. I'm not quite sure though. Okay. I'm not that. Cool. But it looks great to me.
Yeah, it's nicely done. Like so, there's loads of different ways you can do Space Wolves. Anything from like powder baby blue all the way up to like your greys that you'd find on like the Hounds of Morkai and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he's chosen a very blue version of the blue grey.
Yes.
I quite like it. It makes it stand out well from the wolf. He's kept everything nicely tied together. You've got that nice, really, really nice snow effect on the ground there. Mm-hmm. Ties everything together. Hasn't left anything on the base that shouldn't be there, as well as that little bit of grass tuft there, but it's not overdone.
Yeah.
Overall, for me, the whole model coalesces quite nicely. This is a good example of a Space Wolf.
What I particularly like is he did a very blue armor, and the gray of the wolf it still also has a blue in it. But it's still different.
It's kept subtle. Yeah.
So
you use what's called a mother color, where you sort of pick one tone, you use it throughout a lot of different elements of the miniature, mm-hmm. And that way you get this cohesive kind of look to things. It helps tie everything together, mm-hmm. But it can still have a wide range of other colors added to it to give it contrast, give it definition, and bring out all those details. I really like the fact that he's done that.
Yeah,
it's good.
I really like it too. He actually did a picture. It's on Discord as well, where he it's not allowed to do for the painting competition, but he used like graphics, so that it's actually standing in this blizzard thunderstorm, and it's very it's very cinematic. There's a lot going on, but it made it look very dramatic. I also like the gold; it's very crisp. I think overall it's just a very very crisp paint job.
Absolutely, everything's in the right place. Mm-hmm. Some of the face on the dude is a little hard to sort of make out the finer details of the expression. Yeah. But I got a feeling that's partially to do with the sculpt. However, as a painter, it is definitely your responsibility to sort of
make
the best out of stuff. Yeah. But no, I really like what he's done. Even the addition of Necron on the base, which I'd only just noticed. Yeah. In the top photo there. Yep. It blends in well. Everything is nicely been worked out. This is good. Yeah. Solid work.
All right. Moving on to the next one then. This one is the dwarf. It's from Blood Bowl.
Okay. Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, I think so. Big orange beard.
Big orange
beard.
Love
that beard.
Made by Jan van der Steen. This is a range from the Blood Bowl dwarf team. Yeah. And so he submitted like a very big beardy. Big brawler.
It's got a mohawk. It's got a beard. It's got some tattoos going on. Yeah. This just speaks to me on a primal level.
It could be you.
Right. I mean, I'm taller, but I'm not broader. So,
he's got a bigger beard, though.
Only just.
Yeah, only just. I think it's an inch.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a relatively sort of basic scheme because most of the miniature is taken up by beard or armor. That's it.
It's metal.
If it's not those two things, there's not much more going on with it. But he's done a very interesting effect on the metal. It's almost like you've gone for a sort of quasi like stylized, almost comic book version of making that metal. Yeah. And I like the fact that you've done that and tried something new. It's worked out. It's not non-metallic metal. It's definitely still true metallic metals. But it's like he's taken elements of that style and.
I was gonna say, yeah, because with non-metallic, what you do is you like on his knuckle weapon thing, you put these lines, these sharp lines, to build up like a light reflection. And he's done he's done that on several places in the armor as well. So if you look at the shoulder, it's a sort of brownish under color, and then he goes in with like a silvery highlight with these sharp lining edges, and I really like it. It really draws attention to certain parts of the armor, even though all of the armor is very metally and a bit of the same color. And you've got a bit of the green here and there for the gems. So you've got some.
It's a nice little color to sort of accent things with. Yeah, and good job on the gems as well, like a little reflection, because you've kept that going across the entirety of your piece here. And you can see it in all the elements of the armor, all the elements of the punch daggers and things like that. You've then got it on the gem. You've even got the similar kind of highlights on the skull on the base. And I like the fact that you've taken like this one style that you've chosen and you've stuck with it for the entirety of the model. It's good.
Yeah, very nice. All right, so we're moving on. So now in front of me, I have the 3 Necron. I always forget the Necron names. The Scorpec Destroyers.
Destroyers.
Yeah, there you go.
I
knew
love
it.
These things.
So these are made by Melvin Vish, and it's a unit of 3 Scorpec Destroyers. Well, let me know what do you think.
I love them. I absolutely love them. One of my favorite things about Necrons that aren't done in a quick fashion, and mine definitely were, is that there's a lot of detail that you can do some really cool things with. Having a two-tone like armor color where you've got the heads especially as a different color really makes them stand out. And having that kind of off-white that you've got here, there's a little bit of a green-gray tint to it. It makes them look properly cold and emotionless. Yeah, it's awesome. Great paint job. Very clean execution on stuff. Wonderful job on the power weapons. There's a few blends there that could be smoothed out a little bit more. But otherwise, it's great. I love seeing stuff like this. Top notch. Yeah,
I really like it as well. It's the blades are such a great way to really draw attention to your model with the blending. I do agree that pretty much the brightest green could be feathered out better.
The chartreuse that's there just needs to be sort of just gently introduced a little bit to the previous green that you've done. But it's an amazing focal point on the miniature, along with the head as well. Really draws attention to it. Nice little unit you've got here. Banging stuff.
I always very much like it when they use the rib cage, the insides of the rib cage. They use that for a OSL effect. Yeah, I really love that. I really love that. I am a big fan of such. And then it's a very subtle OSL as well. Pretty much the light only just comes out. Yeah, really like that. Keeps it subtle. So great model. So far, I'm very impressed by the overall standards of.
Standard is good. Yeah, standard is good. Judgy is going to be put under pressure for this one.
Yep. So next up is the Hellbrute, made by Dylan Kolenberg. He not only painted the model, he made a very cool scenic base as well. So he's accompanied by like 2 of his buddies who aren't doing so well.
That's right. Well, like some of the traitor guard from Blackstone Fortress, and one of them's lost an arm. So I think he's going to become like that skeleton he's next to quite soon.
Yeah, I think so too. It's not looking very great for them. It looks also like he put in a very cool conversion with the arm. He sculpted in some.
I'm like a mouth. Where it's from, but it's definitely like a big demonic mouth. Yeah. Very much in keeping with the rest of the miniature you've got here. Yep. The Hellbrute itself, I really like it. That silver looks absolutely banging. Great job there. Yep. It's a very, very cold metal. Yep. You've got very warm reds, very warm greens. The base is brown and earthy, and again, warm colors. And it really just has that massive sense of contrast. And I love seeing this in miniatures. For me, the best minis out there are the ones that like, really have that enormous gulf between one color and the next. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it definitely makes the model pop. It's like a very cool way. It's almost like it's a built-in edge highlight. Like it's very, very, very cool, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's in another color.
You get this massive sense of separation. It makes all of the details very easy to see. Yeah. despite that, it's unfortunate because the picture should be much different in person. Because the Hellbrute is at the top of the sort of mound of earth, a little mini cliff that you've put in there, and is very much in the background. You still, despite that, get to see all of the detail there. It's very clear that the detail's there. Everything's very crisp. All the little things that you've got on there, like the little eyes that you've painted that are part of the mutation that it's had, these are really nicely showcased. I'd like the Hellbrute to be larger in the shot. I'd like to see a bit more of it, but that's one of the limitations you have with a thing like this where everything's virtual.
Yeah. I mean, also it's it's pictures submitted by the painters themselves, and
exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes we say taking pictures is art in and of itself. But
trust me, bro, it takes me so long to take photos of minis I've painted.
Yeah. So
and that's a day.
So this is the entire picture. We have to work with the pictures we they give us, and
totally, man. I understand that entirely.
Yeah, but maybe it's a good tip for people to put it out there. Take more pictures up close, so we can next time take a look at more bit of the details, because I think there's a lot of details that in this picture are hard to see that we might miss. Yeah,
for sure. Dylan, you've worked really, really hard on this, and it shows. It's very obvious how hard you've worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I just want to see it a little bit more.
Yeah, make an entire army around it and come to our tournaments so we can see it up close. Yeah. All right, next up, let's see. We've got the name, but it's the squad from Necromunda, the Corpse Grinder cult. It's a very big unit.
Yeah.
Made by Peter Bruckner, and he submitted an entire squad. So he painted this. So he started at the beginning of this competition, and he finished it actually pretty well before the closing date of this competition. So he's a pretty fast painter, and from the looks of it, he's also very, very capable to put quite some in there in the meantime as well.
Yeah, I mean, even on the picture that's the larger picture, you can still see all of the different parts of things. I love the fact that there's so many of them. It really gives you a feeling of it being an entire gang of these guys. There's for me, the bases have absolutely made these. Like the miniatures themselves, kind of devoid of color. You've got this very pale flesh tone. You've got some metallics there that are just there to sort of go into the background. I hope you can't hear the rain as loudly as I can.
Oh, mate, don't worry about it.
Hail now.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Over here, by the way, it's been a storm. Well, so
yeah, I think we just caught the edge of it. So, but you've got this miniature that is very much monochrome, and then the red is the one feature of the miniature.
Yeah.
Now that by itself would be enough of a contrast, but adding the bright, clean yellow to the bases of these makes them pop so much. And it's hazard stripes, and I love hazard stripes. I've ever run those, so this is a great thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. The yellow contrasts very nice with the reds, and the it's definitely great. I'm always a bit on the fence about whether I like these chrome metallic paints or not, because on some models, particularly with models with very large surfaces or where the model is an entire piece of armor, I tend to not like it. But then there's models like these where you have like bits of armor where it's used on. I tend to like it more. It's a
thing that you can definitely overdo. And there's ways of reducing the effect that it has to stop it being like the thing in the whole of the thing. And you need to have that sense of things being different on a miniature. It keeps everything interesting, keeps people wanting to look at your mini, and ultimately, especially in a painting competition in that kind of environment, that's what's going to get the judge to go, yeah, I actually really like this one. This one's the best, and select you over everybody else. So.
Yeah, definitely a great paint job, and I'm pretty impressed by the amount of models he's able to put out in such a time.
Very, very brave choice as well, taking a photo of all of that. Because, yes, we can see the details, and it's great that you've put in these 4 extra shots. This is 100% necessary. But But as you can see from having that many, there's going to be what 24 people there, all in one place. It makes it very difficult to zone in on some of the hard work that you've done.
Yeah.
But fair play, mate. You've done a great job here. Knocked it out of the park.
Pretty good. All right. Next up, we've got our very own Ricardo Barrientos, which is one of our legends, and we love this guy, man. He's got a great sense of humor. He's on all our events, so big love goes out to you, my friend.
Nice.
But he made Sly Marbo.
Yes, absolutely. Who I swear to God is a cross between obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator and Guile from Street Fighter.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Big fan.
Yes. He's so great. He's crap though, but he's so good in the game. Oh man, he's like a living legend, right? There's an entire story, and he shows up, and he's Sly Marbo, and does these special op missions, and he kills like tons of people and disappears, but it never happens in the game, really.
We has the same lore as Chuck Norris. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So, that's always good.
But it's like a fan favorite, right? Sly Marbo. Everybody loves this guy, and he has an entire Katashan army, so this is a great addition to what he already has.
Nice.
So yeah, this is his model. What do you think?
I think there's a couple of things to sort of improve upon from what we've got here. But I like what you've done overall, like adding in the camouflage paint on him and stuff. That's fantastic. You've got this amazing detail on this model, which is Sly stabbing a great big knife.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a sword, but still into an orc's head. And unfortunately, you've hidden it by these massive clumps of static grass. You could have just sort of separated them a little bit to show off the work that you've done painting this guy's head. You can see it in the one shot there.
Yep.
But it's very difficult to get the full benefit of that.
Yep.
So a little bit more, slightly different placement. Remember, with static grass, these big tufts, you can't just trim them down. Like, I always buy the tallest ones and just go in with a pair of scissors and just shrink it down if I need to, because I've got it for all occasions at that point. But overall, like, it's a solid effort. You can see that there's been some hard work put in here. A couple of things that I would change. That's all.
I like this vibrant green. Very nice. I like the camouflage.
The one detail I've just noticed that I think is absolutely spectacular: the fact that you've taken the time to do this. You've drawn hands on the watch.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well done, dude. That's a detail nobody else would have done, but you have done it, and that excellent.
Yeah, gotta keep watching the time. Right. Yeah, it's a very cool model, and I do agree though. It's a bit of a shame that the orc head is hidden too much. Maybe that's a choice he made. I don't. Yeah, it is a feature on this model, right? It's a very prominent feature. I agree. But still, very good paint job. Well done. Moving on to the next. It's the sort of Slaanesh demon conversion with the snake body. So this is a conversion of a demon prince and Marathi. Made by Richard Mura. Oh, I'm gonna butcher his last name. All right, here goes. Muracheski, I think.
Cool.
He's also one of our regulars. Also, great guy. Apparently, he's starting to play Slaanesh. Didn't know, but
he's got off to a good start.
He's off to a great start. I mean, that looks like a really Slaanesh-y demon prince if I ever saw one. So
definitely, yeah, proper vibes of Fulgrim. Obviously, the whole snake demon prince, the demon primarch that he became. I know Marathi's been used as a basis for this kind of conversion a fair bit, because it sells itself to you. I mean, what else does it need, right?
Yep. It's a very model in motion, very much. So it's got tons of movement, tons of flow.
Definitely.
And the paint job itself is also pretty good, I'd say. It's
definitely. Like the green looks really good. It's very vibrant. Stands out quite nicely from the colder dark grey of the rock and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the addition of the pink across the midsection of the snake. Contrasts well with the green.
Yep.
I think that there's an area here that you can improve upon though, and that's the wings themselves. You've got the sort of bones, the pinions that come through the wings, and the membrane in between them. I think you've missed a trick there. There's a lot of real estate that is available to do things to. You could either freehand in some extra details to help show its devotion to Slaanesh. You could maybe make a little bit more of a feature out of a texture there as well, make it a bit more leathery. There's loads of things you can do there. And whilst you've got the rest of the model that's got all these lovely little bits of detail, you see the amount of time you've put in there. You've got these unfortunately quite large areas that haven't got a lot on. I'd like to have seen something done there, but the rest of the miniature you've done a great job on. I love the color scheme, great conversion. So well done on the rest of it.
Yeah, me personally, I would say the skin could use a bit of a brighter highlight.
Even just that would help. Because it is flat. The rest of the model's got lots of texture.
Yes.
And so you've got something, and this is partially the issue with photo submission painting contests, is sometimes things don't come across very well in a photo. And it might be that they're intentionally left like this, but in a photo it doesn't have the same property. And in a photo you've got all this texture everywhere else. This bit is just completely flat, and it stands out more so because of that difference between the two different elements of the miniature there.
For sure. I do want to compliment him though, because I know I've seen his armies, and he's definitely stepping up his game with this. Did want to compliment.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. Definitely good. That's one area that I'd have, because it's so large, I'd have just put a little bit more time into it if you had the opportunity to.
All right, next up is the Orc Warbus, converted out of bits and pieces of the Age of Sigmar range. But this is definitely a 40k Orc Warbus because it's got a big shoot-us and a rocket strap to its shoulder. So
it's not a beast snagger.
Unless no, not yet. Right, this one's made by Norturos, which is a newcomer, I think, in our painting competition. Can't quite remember if you were there last time. If you were, I'm sorry, but you're new to me, and that's fine. We always like new people coming in and presenting their models, and it's an orc, so you've already got my vote. Because I love orcs, and I also think this is a very cool conversion. I think the painting aside, like the conversion, like the Age of Sigmar range lends itself particularly well to converting orcs with the armor pieces. It's really cool looking. It's also very dynamic. What do you think of the painting?
There's a lot going on. I think the painting overall is to a reasonable standard. I'd like to see a little bit more going on with the orc flesh, because that almost looks like there's not been as much effort put into it as the rest of the armor. And on almost any miniature, there is, especially for a war game like 40k, there are two focal points. One is the face of the miniature, and is the weapon that it's carrying. And the weapon, you've done a masterful job on. Love the addition of that rust, the corrosion, the little extra orc glyph that you've put on there. This looks absolutely fantastic. And that's where my attention is drawn the most. There's loads of contrast there. It's great. The face just sort of hides in the shadow a little bit, and I'd love for that to be a little bit more. What I do like, though, is that you have really gone and put a lot of 40k touches onto this miniature. Its pose is great. It's leaned down to one side. There's a massive gun sat on that shoulder. That's the right side for it to be leaning down, the heavier element to it. I love all of those things that you've done.
Yeah, me too. I think I've actually, as far as the face goes, so there's this bit of lore. It might be that was a choice or not, but I know there's orc lore where whenever an orc gets bigger and stronger, his skin gets darker.
Like black orcs back from
their skin gets darker. It's actually also the case with orcs in 40k. However, darker skin isn't as eye-catching as brighter skin, because I've done it before in my models as well, and I'm like, okay, so this is close to the lore, which is cool and all, but if you look purely at the aesthetics of the model now, it doesn't look as great.
That's right.
So
that's right. This isn't a lore competition.
No, I agree, but
that obviously helps because it gives you that emotional tie-in to what you're looking at. But if that is the case, if you have decided to do the skin particularly dark like this, and this is the effect that you wanted, then my suggestion would be to make the teeth a little brighter and do something a bit more with the eyes as well. Make them really stand out of the face, and then it will tie it to you a little
glowing red eyes or something. That would...
Not even necessarily glowing, just very apparent and very well detailed would be absolutely spot on.
Last thing I want to say, I like the pink. I love the pink color. And
I use pink on a lot of models.
I love pink. It's a good color.
Pink is a good color to add to almost anything.
I wear pink all the time. So It's a great color. Right, next up. Oh yeah, so this is the Swordmaster, the High Elf Swordmaster from the Age of Sigmar range. They're not called High Elves anymore, but it's a female.
Lumineth?
So yeah, the Lumineth Sword Mistress, I should say, probably, because it's a female. Made by Twan. So yeah, this is one of the new ranges. I think they actually are called Swordmasters. I'm not quite sure. I'm not very familiar of the Lumineth range.
They had Swordmasters back in the very old days, and those are the ones that I remember, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it could be. It's an elf with a sword. Yeah. This is already like a nice high fantasy kind of thing.
Yep.
You've done a great job here, dude. Like the gold is absolutely spot on. I love that blade. That blade is really, really nicely done. The blends there, nice and smooth. Additional battle damage has been painted on.
Oh yeah,
makes this really, really stand out to me. You've thought about the highlights in those battle damage as well. Every single one of those, every bit of detail jumps out on that sword. Superb job.
Agree. I very much love the vibrant clothing and the on the banner as well. So it's very much a white model in its armor, but then it livens up the model by using these bright colors. And even though he has like multiple colors, he's got the orange, he's got the gold, he's got the purplish pink, and then he's got the blue, but it all works together very well. Yeah,
definitely does. I think there's a little bit of purple in the base. You got the purple and the green there. Obviously, that helps sort of transition up the miniature. Yep. There's even what looks like, I'm not sure if it's either a reflection that he's painted in of the purple like plant tree on the sword hilt, or whether it's just the color that he's chosen to do the grip. But that ties everything together, and the path that your eyes take naturally gets led up the miniature, and that's perfect. That's what you want, because your audience is looking at every single part of the mini you've painted. All of the effort you've put in is being taken in by the person that's viewing your miniature, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, for sure. Also, he's done the pupils, and quite well, I should say, which I always find it impressive, because those things
She's not doing this.
No, exactly. She's not looking like with crooked eyes. Oh man, it's so frustrating to paint eyes on like small models like elves. Let me tell you, I always skip that part, mainly because
you can't, mate. You can't. You've got to do it. You don't get better if you don't do it.
I don't want to. I don't want to. Plus, when you're playing, you don't see those eyes anyway. It's only when, like, for a competition piece, I would consider it. But
no, you still see the eyes. Like you do.
Dang it! All right, fine.
But it's not the animated Batman series where it's just a white.
Line, everybody has no pupil. Exactly. All right. What I also like is that the runes are, I think, done. Let me see. Let me take a close look. So the sword actually starts off dark and goes up lighter to the middle on one side at least. And then so it's alternated, but then I think he also done the runes like so in reverse to that. I'm looking at it.
It's tricky for me to see, unfortunately, but I can see there's been quite a nice highlight applied across the front of the rune at least. So they all stand out.
Yeah, that's more my point.
Important there's a little bit of shade there to help give them the separation from the sword. It's even more apparent at the bottom where it's a little bit darker, but certainly even towards that brighter element on the left-hand side of the blade there.
Yeah,
you still see the rune that's on there.
Yeah, love this paint job, man. All right, moving on to the next. So we've got a green ogre. Sort of maybe orc conversion with a beehive on his chest. It looked like that's the metal plate.
It's a very dented gut plate there.
This immediately makes me think of those people that have a phobia for things with holes in it. And I don't. There's an actual phobia for that. Yeah. So people are terrified of those. And then you've got these flowers that have these holes in it. Let me think. I think you know what I mean. And this looks
lotus
like that. So
a lotus something.
Yeah. And so this very much makes me think of that. But yeah, we've got an ogre done by Wilco Lammers. Also a new contestant to our in our Discord channel. So first of all, welcome, mate. Glad to have you here. And you've done a cool piece with toxic pool, an orc skull melting in there. Probably.
There's lots of little elements here, which are cool. You've put some blood on the blade, but importantly, you haven't just drenched it in blood for the blood god and called it a day. Because real blood, I've seen enough. Unfortunately, doesn't look like blood for blood god, but you've got something here that looks like it's been sort of dried on, it's aged, it's just a manky, nasty, horrible thing. And this looks much better. The inclusion of the pool on the base, I like. It's very glossy. And you can see that in the photo where you've got real reflections of the ogre in the pool. I'm normally not a fan of just like single tone pools of liquid on a base, but because this is so glossy, it works. It just stands out a little bit. There's a little bit of green that's the light reflected off of the pool onto the skull, which almost has that sort of OSL kind of effect, but it's just a real, actual effect from what I can work out from the picture. So lots of nice, cool, fun elements to this. This is good overall.
I'm thinking that is an actual orc head, I think. So it's not so
it's the orc skull from the skull. Oh, up on the thing. I'm struggling to work on that. I think you might be right, but it's definitely from the Sigmar line, which I'm much less familiar with.
For sure. Yeah, I would give it a tip. It's not so much towards the painting side, but sometimes when I put skulls on the ground, and especially when they're in pools, I tend to cut off a part. And then put them on so it actually looks like they're sunken in to the pool.
Absolutely. And that even if it's just on the ground surface, I think one of the best ways to do it is to glue that down and then build up your pumice. When you use the Games Workshop stuff or Vallejo or whatever, always buy the Vallejo stuff, it's cheaper. And use that to embed it into the ground, because we've all seen bases with like Space Marine arms stuck on top of it and things like that, and it doesn't look like it belongs. And everything you're seeing should belong there.
So but very much a cool model, man. Good paint job.
Good effort.
Sure. All right, next up, we've got Sigfold the Magnificent. So he makes his debut on our painting competition. Unfortunately, the pictures are a bit small on this one, so it's hard to judge on it.
It's nice that you put the title in there.
He put the title in
there.
The
collage is great, but it is unnecessary. You could have done that. Smash my microphone. Could have done that just the bottom of the screen. I mean, it would have given us an extra bit of the work that you've done. Because whilst you've got a nice little font there on Photoshop or whatever, you maybe spent, say, 20 hours, 30 hours or whatever painting the mini, but you've maybe spent 20 or 30 seconds doing that one part of it. Definitely showcase the work that you've done rather than that.
Now I can zoom in a little bit. So one of the things that catches my eye immediately is the shield, which is a very prominent part.
Absolutely, the eye and the shield is great. That's so nice, and it's a nice, like, vivid green as well. There's a lot of highlights that have been taken up to an extreme on the rest of Sigvald himself. So it gives you a very sort of pale, almost pastel kind of version of the miniature. But that green is clearly been highlighted up in a much more vivid way, and it jumps right out to you, which is fantastic. I love that.
And other part I very much like, if you look at the top-down view picture, is the cloak. He's used like strokes to give the cloak more dynamic.
It gives it some body as well. It really gives it that feeling of it being a bit more like powerful and a bit more realistic. Too often you see cloaks and things like that where people are used to edge highlighting because they follow the heavy metal painting guide and sort of drawing boxes around things, and they get to a cloak and like, well, I'm not sure what to do now. And I'll just do one at the bottom or a couple on the creases. Doing something like this, a volumetric highlight, which you can see just behind the hair there, really helps make elements like this on a miniature that are cloth, that have that kind of billowing kind of appearance to them, really just have that extra bit of finish to it. So
I also really like the hair again. You've got the hair that's a bit more sunken in, that has like the darker color, and then the hair that's more raised to the top, as is more.
He definitely gets his roots done, that's for sure.
For sure. It is Sigfold after all. Probably in his camp, people braiding his hair, really combing it. If they do a bad hair job on him, it kills them.
Almost certainly, There's only one thing here that is sort of messing with my head a little bit, and I'd like to see you maybe alter this at some point. The sword, I know what you've tried to do with the light to dark, that kind of mirror sheen reflection over the thing. But the light areas of it are just slightly too regimented. And you need to just be able to fade those out a little bit. And it's just done through glazes and patience. And when you're doing this many transitions on a sword, it will take some time. But it's such a great part of the mini. It needs to be done.
Yeah, it's his sword. He is a master of the sword. It's a very prominent piece on this model as well. So I agree. What you tend to get more now is it's more of like a checker pattern. A bit more
almost.
And I think but that's because it's immediately too bright and goes immediately to the darkest tone.
Your transitions are very small. You need to just lengthen those out a little bit, make it a bit more of a natural gradient, and it would just really put the finishing point on this mini for me.
You could still fix that though. You could glaze it out a bit, like the darker
Definitely.
blues.
Well, this is how I would paint a power sword if I was going to do it by hand. Is I'd block in all of the colors I wanted to do along it, and then I'd work on transitioning those across. Because you'll get a different finish putting the blue over the white, and you will the white over the blue, and getting that lighter and darker element in there. Also, don't be afraid on blades like this to go super, super, super dark in some of your less bright areas. So you've got then a maximum contrast of an almost black version of the color you've used to an almost white version of the color you've used.
Yeah, I personally always use actual black, and then I blend it in. And
same, I do. Got a great video about that on YouTube. Check it out.
All right, will do. Plug.
Shameless plug.
I don't care. We don't care here, man. It's all good here. All right, next up, it's good old Gaskell, painted by Sir Lancelot. If you remember, Sir Lancelot is. I'm going back a bit. This model, I forgot to mention that. This model is painted by Wargaming. I forgot to mention his name, so. Sigfold the Magnificent. Sorry for mentioning it afterwards, Wygam, but great job, mate. All right, moving on to Gaskell. I'm painting him myself. It's a great model.
Nice.
Love this guy.
Yes, it is.
He is super sweet to assemble, super easy, and a joy to paint. And this one's done by Sir Lancelot. And if you remember, he's actually the one. I think you judged that one as well with the. He made the Gargant, the Mega Gargant.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was beautiful. And you come on even further with this one. This is so far, I think, one of the more powerful entries that we've seen. And there's two reasons for that. One is the paint job, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the second reason I want to bring up, this is a perfect example of a submission for an online painting contest. You're taking a photograph that's not just from like the top and further away, and you've got right down there. You're pointing almost up at the model, giving it a sense of height and gravitas, and it looks like Gaskell is there rather than just being a picture. And that is super key to any kind of contest like this. So anyone that's entered, definitely this is a bit of feedback that can be applied across several entries. This is something you should be looking to do. You want to make your mini look as cool as humanly possible, and this guy's done it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very different route he went as well. It's like all rust.
Yeah.
All weathered.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Very Orcan. And even though there's a lot of rust and browns in the model and in the base as well, I don't feel like it's one monotonous.
No, it definitely isn't. There's so many different aspects there. Like one of my favorite parts of this mini is the power claw. It's an enormous part of Gaskell, who he is, his identity, and you can see all of the rust, all of the wear there. But just because of the fact that it's got those there on the cutting edges of the claw, where the action's really going on, you've got clean, bright edges, and the contrast between the two is amazing. It really adds that definite look at me focal point to the miniature, which is exactly what you want in anything. We've said about it a couple of times already. There's normally two, if not three, on Gaskell. It's such a big miniature. You've got the claw, you've got his big like quad shooter thing, and then you've got his face. All three elements of those really stand out from a distance. Looking at this picture, masterful paint job.
I agree. Actually, we used this very model because Len lives in Rotterdam and our studio is in Rotterdam, so we used this model in one of our streams.
Nice.
Gasco proceeded to kick the living bejesus out of an entire
He'll do
army.
that.
Yeah. So it's a very cool model to paint, and also a very cool model. I think definitely one of the best models Games Workshop has put out in recent years.
Yeah, for sure. It was voted their number one last year, so a lot of people share that opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, great job, Lancelot.
Top effort.
Yep, moving on, we've got another orc. So we've already got like 3 orcs in this competition. So I'm very pleased. And this is a drummer. This is a war chanter. Yeah, this is a war chanter.
Yeah.
I should know because I've got the army.
That's the only one I knew for the orc range as well.
So he's got the Gorka Morka sticks ready to beat down on his opponent. Very much getting closer. So yeah, this one's done by Arne or Arnie. Could be either way. And I really like the model off the bat because it's a different skin color. You've got a guy.
Yeah, purple orcs.
Yeah, people got kind of like love or hate it because orcs should be green, but I'm like, whatever, paint them another color. That's cool, man.
Absolutely, do what you like.
Yeah.
It's a magical realm, and if you think that a dragon is like that's fine, that's normal.
Sometimes people try to argue with logic in a game where dragons can bite your head off. So it's
no, good stuff here. I like what you've done with the skins. Just not just the tone, but the way you've highlighted it. You've definitely gone in with those volumetric highlights. My tip there would be to keep your paint just ever so slightly thinner to help that blend happen a little bit more naturally and a little bit less almost in a cell shaded vibe. But if that was your intent and you smashed that cell shaded vibe, I like the armor. It's a nice dark contrast to the miniature. And then again, we're talking about it another time, the focal point being on the face, that bright white hand of
Saruman.
I always want to say Sauron. I'm like, no, that was the big floaty eye.
Yeah,
that's the wrong one.
Yep.
I really dig that. I think that's very, very well done.
Yeah.
You're missing a little of the detail there, and that's partially the photo's fault, I'd assume, because you've got this stark white, and the camera then has a problem balancing the darker and lighter shades of that.
Yeah.
So you have lost a little detail in the photo, but I really like it.
Yeah.
Top work.
I also like that his eyes are white for some reason. It's like you could argue like, well, that part around there is white already as well. Might give the eyes another color, but I think it really works. It's like a very much like an albino-esque sort of feel.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. But
base rim should be black. That's all though. Other than that,
really, I wouldn't necessarily say a base rim should always be black, but I think the reddish brown is a bit too much.
It detracts.
It's too much out of touch with the actual brown on the base itself.
That's right.
What I would personally give as a tip is try to maybe highlight a bit more the ropes around his waist and stuff a little bit brighter, maybe. So
there's some of that gets lost, but I feel that always gets lost on a miniature because you've normally got a separation between the mini and its base. I like having contrasting basing rather than complementary. And so you've got feet are almost always in focus. You can see those because you want to show off what you've done for 95% of your work, which is the top part of the mini, not the base.
Yeah.
And then the next focal points are normally heads and weapons. And by nature, the head is the other end of the miniature.
Yeah.
Weapons in a fantasy war game are usually either held, if it's a gun, sort of at least chest height, if not higher. Swords frequently right up in the air. And so the waist, I always feel, gets neglected by not just painters, but also sculptors. And you don't always want to make it like apparent that there's things there. You could have maybe done a little bit more with the leather straps that are there, though.
Yeah.
Just to show that, you've acknowledged that detail. I've done 10 out of 10 effort on it, and now we can move on to the next more interesting thing.
I agree. Yeah, it's often like the little things that give it character.
Yeah.
So it's something to keep in mind. Even though you're not like this isn't a prominent part, it can sometimes make the difference between a very interesting character and a less interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So you just talked about cell shading. Well, my friend, I've got the model for you. We've got an Orc Death Dread. It doesn't get more cell shaded than this.
Absolutely. This is proper full on Borderlands style, and I adore it. I really, really do.
done by Ben S. And it's got Borderlands written all over it. I don't know if that's where the inspiration came from. But boy, it works. I love it. And me personally, I also love the fact that he painted on the base. So it's...
Yes, yeah, I can see that none of that is sculpted. Yep. Miniatures painted in this style work really, really well in this kind of competition because whenever you've painted any kind of optical illusion, and by that I mean things like non-metallic metal, we've got a little of that going on here, object source lighting, these sorts of things, you are creating something that tricks the viewer into believing this other thing exists, right? And that usually only works from certain angles of view. Everyone's looked at non-metallic metal, picked up the mini, turned it slightly, and go, oh, it looks a bit less good now. With this, that straight shot from the head on, the face, that white face there, looks like it really jumps out from a model. We know it's 3D. We know it's an extra sculpted element to the mini, but it looks like it really jumps out. I love this sort of thing. So well done here, Ben. Yeah,
it's great. It looks like he's done a map. He hasn't gone as much of a cell shading black lining on the metal, so he's done like but then that's looks pretty cool as well. So you've got this sort of sideways picture where you can get a proper view of the exhaust pipes.
That's right.
If you look at it that way, the exhaust pipes are a nice point of attraction. So you immediately look at the pipes because they're pretty bright.
Exactly that. It helps draw your eye. The base has got a lot of nice little bits of contrast, and your sort of eye is drawn to it because it's so dark in relation to the rest of the model.
Yes.
But then having those pipes being super bright brings the viewer back up to the top of the miniature, which of course means that they get to see every single part of it. So it's a very clever little thing to do.
Yeah. Love it. But boy, this must take a lot of time. If you have
all that black lining done, and the shadows, just making sure that they're in the right place, they're thick enough. It's a lot of work. Yeah. So well done.
Yeah, kudos to you, mate. Great job. Okay. So now we've got. Now I don't really know. This looks like sort of a sort of werewolf man with a spiky mace.
The big mace.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no clue, Bauke, who made this model, where this model, what range this is, or what game even, because it's not a game.
No idea. Hey, it could even just be something that's been 3D printed. We live in the future now.
Yes, the future.
And, so there you are. We have replicators where you can just tell it what to print and away it goes.
Yep.
This is a cool mini. It's very one note, but I suspect this has some sort of semblance and like tie into maybe a game like D&D or something.
I think so, yeah.
One of the reasons why Dice is there.
Possibly like a Descent game or something where it comes in a box, right? With and these are the monster minis, something like that. Yeah.
It's a nicely realized miniature. Yep. It is basically shades of brown. Even the sort of almost greenish like loincloth there, because it's not a massive departure from everything else, it all sort of flows together. What I would like to say is that despite the fact that it is all basically one color, you've got enough variations of that you see all of the detail. Too often you see a mini that's very monotone and everything's lost. But here you can see all of the detail, and the details here aren't quite as crisp as some of the miniatures we might be used to from, say, GW, especially their plastics. We get really spoiled by just how good their plastic is. But you've still pulled out all of the details that the sculptor has put into this. Yep. And you've added some in yourself, adding that little bit of like scar tissue or muscle striation here and there, the vein on the arm, adding in that little bit of blood splatter that isn't, again, we talked about this earlier on, just a bucket of blood for the blood god lobbed over it and call it quits. I like what you've done here. You've made the most out of the model that you've gone to work with, for sure.
I mean, even the blood. So I think the blood makes a very big difference in this model, because take away the blood and it's just a monster roaring, but now it really looks like he just smashed someone's head in, and he's like giving a roar of victory. So it adds a bit more story to the model here, I'd say. The only thing that it's a bit off-putting, but I think that's just the way it comes, is that it's a pretty big guy, and then he's on a pretty small base. So
yeah, that's maybe a design choice. Maybe it needs to be like that for the game that it's in or whatever. Don't be afraid for a painting competition to put a model in with a small base, but if you think that detracts from it, there's nothing wrong with getting a plinth, because suddenly that base doesn't look so small.
No.
You then got this nice area that it's on.
Yeah.
He does look a little bit like he's going to tip over if not at all.
Yeah, although I have to say I do like he's got some tonal variation going on the base as well with the brown.
Yeah.
It's not like it's boring. It's pretty interesting.
No, it's been executed quite well.
Yeah. All right, and he put a little dice next to it so that everybody can see this is a tiny ass model.
Yeah, guy, he is small.
Yeah. Whoa. So, all right. Or maybe that's a freehand dice. That would be something cool. Like you free-handed a dice on there.
I'm gonna suggest that's not a free-handed dice.
If it was, you'll instantly win because that's a balling freehand then.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to, I think, which is going to be the last, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the the Blood Angel Sanguinary Guard unit.
Yeah.
Made by Daniel Konjovic. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name, friend. You're my dear friend, but I'm bad at pronouncing last names.
From now on, he's just Dan. That's it.
Yeah, Dan.
Just Dan. We'll edit that part out. Just Dan.
So last time around, we had Lancelot judge one of our paint competitions, and this was the model that I do believe ended up, or not this model, but Daniel was the person that ended up winning that one because he painted a Sanguinary Priest, and this is just a continuation of him painting his Blood Angel army. And if this is, so he just started, but Christ, if this is a omen of things to come, I'm pretty excited because this.
Yeah, I am as well. I've seen quite a few photos of these sort of as they've been painted. So full disclosure, Daniel is one of my painting students. I have private tuition that I teach through Patreon, and Daniel is one of my students, and so I've seen a lot of his work. There's a lot of elements here that I really like. The power swords, the pink and the teal is a great combo. Like really well done. The teal splashes he's put in other parts of the miniatures really help give that nice accent because it contrasts so well with the red. Now, because he's my student, Danielson, I am going to give you some pretty devastating critique here. And that is that when you are airbrushing in those nice green elements to the wings, you've just done the end of the feathers. Please make sure you go back inside there and just take out those tiny little feathers, because you've got this kind of airbrush overspray thing going on, and you know better than that, Dan. I've taught you.
Oh, you mean
the rest of your mini is amazing. If you look at the middle shot, top middle, you've got the feathers just beneath the sword there. But they certainly don't look like they should glow, but because the airbrush has kind of gone across it, you've got that green onto the other feathers there, and that for me doesn't ruin the effect, but it definitely diminishes it. It just needs to be tight, and just sort of going in there with a base color, taking those little sections out, you'd have been set.
Oh man, but I'm in love with this unit. So first of all,
it's great.
First of all, it's a painting competition, but I have to say that the conversion, it's like a simple conversion, but it's female head on there, right? And I do believe he's done like a little I believe he's also done a little reposing on things, so there's a bit more work going in there. But it just looks radically different, and it's very cool. It's and then he's done the swords where the pink comes back into the hair and other stuff like that. So there's like continuation of the different colors in parts of the model.
That's right.
And he's done
it's quite a limited palette if you really think about it. It's red, teal, pink, and variations of yellow. That's it.
Non-metallic gold. Cool.
It's good job on that gold as well. You could go darker in the recesses, but I think if you did, then you might end up with it being too much of a contrast for the rest of the mini. The whole mini has this kind of almost soft look to it in this photo. And if you'd gone with some really harsh shadows, you'd have detracted from the overall tone of the miniature. So that would have been possibly a mistake. So I like the fact that you've sort of kept it restrained with that. One of my favorite parts of this is a bit we haven't talked about at all yet, and it's very understated, and that's just the backpack glow. Yep. The little glow from the vents there has been very well done. It's restrained, and that is something that normally this is the part where normally someone gets the airbrush out and goes, I know how to do OSL. And the next thing you know, that glow is hitting things 3 miles away. But I like the fact you've just gone in there with a brush, kept it really, really small, just adds that extra little bit of detail to a part of the miniature that usually is boring. The back of a mini normally has very little detail on it because it's not really what you're going to be looking at, except when you're playing the army, especially Blood Angels, always be charging, get them across the battlefield. You're going to be looking at the back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I want my army to look pretty to me.
Yeah. I mean, as the player of your army, you're mostly looking at the back of your armor most of the game.
You got it.
So,
you got it.
So those butts should look nice. All right.
Yeah.
Top
work, man.
What I would say, me personally, is I think so he's gone for a bit of a more muted red, which that doesn't that works for me. But then what I would personally do is make a bit more brighter highlights, or maybe some edge highlights, like the final highlights in some of the corners, just to pick it up a bit more, because now we've got very vibrant pink and teal, and very vibrant yellow, gold, and then the muted armor red. A bit too muted. Maybe that's also partly because the base colors themselves are also pretty muted.
For me, I think some of that is I believe the photo is ever so slightly overexposed.
Okay.
And that hasn't helped, because I've seen shots of these where it has been darker, and that really brings it to life a little bit more. But equally, I think if you had a red that was as vibrant as the rest of the mini, this would hurt to look at.
Yeah. It shouldn't be as vibrant, but I think it should be just a bit more, and then it would be finished to me, as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Good job though, man. Like, really well done. Those blades are beautiful. I love the colors that you've used on this. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that will look at this and go, they're female Space Marines, and have a little bit of a tantrum inside their head. Get over it. Just appreciate the art for the art. That's it.
Yeah, that's it, right? Just put it out there. It's like, it's just cool, man. It's just, I actually like it, not mainly because it's female, but it's just very different, and it just looks cool. It's like, don't think too much on the lore part. There are no female Space Marines. No, that's true, but apparently there are now, and it looks cool. So shut up.
Rule of cool.
Yeah, rule of cool. Exactly, trumps everything. Oh no, we said the secret word, Trump.
Secret type, bro.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me just double check if this was the last one.
More.
Oh no, we've gotten one more. I'm sorry, Cuppy. Oh man, he's a local of ours as well, and he's a Grey Knight player, and it shows because he made like a Jacaro Grey Knight Terminator.
Right. Yes, of course, it's a monkey's face.
Yes,
thank you. I've been looking at him like, what is going on with this thing's eyes?
It's a Jacaro. He's got the goggles. He's got the goggles. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, there's like this race of monkeys in the Warhammer universe.
They're usually kind of orangutan looking.
Yeah, and they are like tech savants, and they are even better at making technology than the Adeptus Mechanicus. Although don't say that too loudly in their presence.
Yeah, but everything they do is usually super small, super precise, like digital weapons.
Yes.
So it's a tiny ring that fires a laser that will annihilate a building.
It'll penetrate a planet. And beep.
Yeah.
Great.
Crazy.
But yeah, so he made this conversion, and it's a fun conversion right off the bat.
Definitely.
So yeah, what do you think?
I think, unfortunately, Cuppy, your photograph is letting you down a little bit. It looks like it's just a little bit too bright, and maybe the light source was behind the miniature a little bit. It's very difficult getting good photos. We've said a few times, but taking that out of the equation, I like the fact that you've got a Grey Knight that is grey and not a Grey Knight that is metallic. The Grey Knight army that I've got, that I will eventually paint more than one mini of, I swear, is done in a similar fashion. I don't want it to be an army just sort of steel coloured, because it looks a little bit boring to me. I like the fact that you've got this, and you've made that sort of stylistic decision. So for me, straight off, that's the first good thing. Secondly, you've done a great job just adding in those extra little bits of color. So that blue on top of the shoulder pad really helps just add another interesting element to the miniature. One of the downsides to painting something with a flat gray, on sort of battleship gray, is that you do have a mini that is gray. And sometimes that can look boring, but you've added in the red, you've added in the blue, you've given it the monkey face with the bright goggles in it. You've done all these extra things which have really helped. I don't know what the sculpt is like, whether this is something you've printed, whether it's something you've sculpted yourself, like whatever it might be for the Joker row head. But if you've green stuffed that, then fair play, because I can't. Like, well done.
I'm not quite sure either, because I'm not that familiar with the Jakara ranges. As far as I know, there's like 1 or 2 models actually for them. You could actually, I don't think they're actually right now in the Grey Knight Codex. You used to be able to field them as
back in the old Demon Hunters
units of 1 or 2, but even then I don't think you really saw them ever, because they weren't a very interesting unit. They brought like these tiny little gizmos. They had like a last cannon equipped strapped to their back or some shit. But he actually played with them a lot, and they're hilarious. I don't know, so I'm not sure if this is an actual sculpt. But I also like the model. I'm familiar with Cuppy's Grey Knight army. So he's got a pretty big Grey Knight army. And I think he's showing a bit more of his painting skills, definitely in this piece, for sure. So I also like you said, the colors that give it more interest, or else it will become a very gray model. Yeah,
exactly. It just fades into the background at that point. But no, nice job. A little focal point towards the bottom, the robe, little focal point towards the top. Yeah, the blue. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I do believe then that now was the last one. Yes,
that is actually it.
Because now we loop back around to the gray, not the. I was gonna say gray now, but it's a Space Wolf. So we've covered them all. So yes, thanks everyone for
good work. Thank you for submitting your entry as well. So
yeah, it's
good on you.
I think we can be very pleased with the amount of people competing here and their level of painting. I think it's getting better and
You've
better.
got some really cool minis. Yeah, it's a great paint job. So well done.
Yeah. I think we should be very happy with that. So Jay, now you're going to judge these pictures later on, and then you'll let us know which you think is the winner. But do you have maybe like a top 3 favorites maybe so far? Is that tip the veil a little bit?
Top 3,
or just a few that jump at you right off the top of your mind?
The Orc Dreadnought, because it's very different to everything else. Big fan of that. Splitting down to 3 is so hard, bro. I have to do 5. I have to do 5.
All right, sure.
The Elf Swordmaster is superb. Love the blade. Gull, I mean, you started off with a great miniature. You've done a great paint job. What's not to love? So there's that one as well. The Blood Angels, Sanguinary Guard conversions, really, really like those. Yeah. And then the Corpse Grinder Colts. Oh, yeah. It's not just because they've got hazard stripes. Someone in the chat has said that already. It's not just because of that. I love them. I think they've been done really, really well.
I'm also a big fan of hazard stripes, for sure. For me, boy, I'm scrolling through them very quickly right now. And definitely the shell-shaded Death Dread, but that's because I'm biased towards orcs.
That's fair.
I like the Hellbrute. That was a very evocative model to me.
Yeah, that narrowly missed my top 5.
And then there's also, like the Blood Angels, the swords, man. The swords have me enchanted. I can't look away. It's like such a cool color combination. I've never seen that before in any model.
It's good.
Yeah,
so good.
So good. But to be fair, I think everybody did a great job. But those are the two that, off the top of my head, just jump at me.
Nice.
But like we said, we will give the final results in later at the end of the week, somewhere, or maybe at the beginning of next week. And with that being said, Jay, my friend, thank you very much for coming on with us.
My pleasure, bro. Thanks for having me here.
We've done it in an hour. It was a bit challenging. It was like 3 minutes for every picture.
Yeah,
we did.
There's a lot. I mean, I want to make sure everyone's work is celebrated.
Yeah.
Feedback is given where it can be, and so on and so forth. If anybody wants a bit more feedback, then feel free to hit me up on Discord.
Yeah.
Just message me directly, and I'll you might have to send me a picture of your mini as
well. You always do during your streams. You always do like a part where it's time for you to have your dinner or something, and then you take a look at pictures, right?
Yeah, on our regular streams, we do a community work in progress gallery normally at the end of every stream, and it can be something you finish, it can be something you're working on, and you just want a little bit of feedback for, and the feedback is always honest. I don't think it does anybody any favors, myself included, to not be. So if you want some like really constructive but critical feedback, then you can do that as well. Yeah,
I mean, that's fair, right? I mean, definitely you shouldn't pull punches or if you're giving feedback.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not a bit.
No, don't be a dick about it.
I'm not usually a dickhead. Occasionally, but most of the time it's just like, here's a few things that you could do to change things up. Whether it's a stylistic difference because of the way that I paint is different to the way that you paint, the way that somebody else paints, or whether it's just this needs a little bit of tweaking and here's how you can do that. But I won't just say this needs more contrast, which is the number one feedback thing that anyone gets. How do I improve my minis? Add more contrast. I'll tell you how to add the contrast, what you need to do, and so on. So you get a bit more direction out of me.
Great. That sounds really great. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week, Thursdays. We've got our studio finished. And
nice.
We've been putting up pictures all week long.
I've seen some of your decorating.
Yeah.
That's being done. So
yeah. So, we've got a game. We've got a cool game. Once again, Root's coming in. He's going to play a great game against, I'm not quite sure what army his opponent is bringing, but it's going to be great with the new studio, and it's going to be a big party. Just come over, hang out, and have a ball of a time. Check out Mohawk Miniatures channel. Definitely, just if you want to have a cool time, or if you want some constructive feedback. Great. Great.
Come and join in the fun, man. We do giveaways every month. There's at least 3 prizes every month.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have the really crazy giveaways.
Yeah. You just gave away like an entire Tyranid army that's painted. And
we painted a Tyranid army in the weekend and gave that away. We gave away an Alpha Legion Primaris army, an Imperial Knight army, an Assisted Battle army.
Yeah.
Scenery, lessons, vouchers, combat patrol boxes, you name it. It was out there.
It was a thing, to be sure. It was very generous, and it's great to see that a community
got to give back to your community. Without them I don't have a job, so you guys rock.
All right, well, everybody, once again, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay wargaming. Most of all, stay painting.
Definitely.
And
do your painting.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Peace.